Launched at Scale Model World at Telford in 2014 was this new Arado 234 by Fly. We knew this kit was coming as it had been announced a few months back, but we never actually dreamt we'd see it in 2014. It's been released in two versions. This is the first, the Night Fighter, and this is the second, which is described as the Bomber Reconnaissance version. I will start by apologising for the state of this box. It rather suffered on the journey back as a cage full of books rolled over the box. Fortunately, the contents weren't damaged. Each boxing comes with 4 options. This one is the Bomber boxing and has a captured American example back in America in 1945-46, a standard German service marking, an RAF captured example, and another German marking with yellow undersides to the engine pods. The Night Fighter boxing contains another 4 options, 3 of which are the Night Fighter with the large cannon housing under the body. And the 4th example is a standard bomber variant. That's because the parts are all in this boxing to make either variant. It is slightly more expensive by about £5, but you can get the choice of having either variant from it. All of the 4 plastic sprues are moulded in this tan coloured plastic. It does feature detail. I'm trying to catch it in the light. It's quite subtle, very restrained, as was the original type. Here we have the wings, tyres and drop tanks. Tailplane, upper wings and the onions from the rear of the engine. Here we have the engine and the undercarriage parts. Looking at the plastic parts, you might have thought there was not a lot in the box, but that's mainly because a lot of the detail parts are supplied in resin. And here we have the cockpit, rear bulkhead, and the undercarriage bays, which are the 2 largest components. Detail, as you can see, is really quite nice. Now, on the back of the bulkhead, there is a really large casting block. I'm just going to spin that round. What I quite like about this kit is it doesn't appear to be any need to remove it, and it will add much needed nose weight. The part does fit into the fuselages quite nicely without actually taking that part away. And here's the rest of the resin parts from the standard kit. So these are the parachute packs on the front of the Johto bottles, the engine details, rear and front, and then a number of cockpit parts and scissor links for the undercarriage struts. Now they all are come in their own little sealed bag, which is just as well. As you can see, one of my little rods there has broken away. But the detail on these parts is incredibly good. To give you an idea of how good the fit of these resin parts are, this is without any cleaning up or perspiration at all. The resin engine fascia has just slotted straight into the plastic cowling, almost perfectly. Each kit has its own dedicated etched brass sheet. This mainly revolves around the differences with seat belts and details for the rear compartment. Both are very nicely done, as you can see. Just what you'd expect from a Czech manufacturer. Each set also includes this little bag with some thread and vinyl tubing in it. The thread is used to reproduce the parachute pull pack, which is fitted in the rear fuselage and is visible from the outside of the aircraft. Here we have the clear parts. There's a few optional pieces on here for the Night Fighter variant, and what's really nice to see is that they've actually positioned the lines in most places far back in the fuselage. That means that you won't have problems with having to fill and hide the seam right next to a clear part. Example, there's your cut line, and the actual canopy starts about there. So as you say, you've got a bit of room to play with where you can fill away with impunity. Same for the Night Fighter compartment. The central clear window has got a scribe detail, but the actual panel you'll be cutting out is quite a lot larger. Again, this should enable you to get a near perfect fit. Here we have the 2 decal sheets. Again, very nicely printed. I've kept these in the bag just to save them avoiding damage. Now we have got the ever popular segmented swastikas. Nice selection of instrument panels, instrument dials, sorry. These aren't as good as you'll get from Airscale, and I'll be replacing them, but you know, they're not bad for the kit. If you can't get Airscale ones, they're as good. Now, one limitation of the moulding technique that Fly have used is that they can't mould the rivet detail around the side of the canopy parts, which is quite prominent. So this is their answer. You get lots of black stripes with the silver rivet detail moulded in. I actually quite like it. It looked quite good on the model, I think. And it is a limitation to the short run technology used for the plastic parts. That's the Night Fighter sheet. Next door to it we have the normal version sheet with the American and RAF markings. RAF markings, not sure about the red in those, a bit bright, a bit cherry red, but most people get that wrong, so they would probably be best replaced. But yeah, very nice decal sheet. Typical Czech produced again, not sure who makes this for them. We'll try one of these pieces on a bit of scrap plastic just to make sure, but they do look like they are very nice decals. Okay, now a quick look at the colour markings again in a bit more detail. This is the first option. Now you do get lots of little stencils in this for the Arado pods, they're all included on the decal sheet. Again, I do apologise for the creased appearance of this one. This box is the one that got run over. But as you can see, that one with the yellow engine nacelles will make quite an attractive model. We'll turn the box over. And then we have the captured examples. So one in RAF markings with the remains of a winter whitewash, and an American in olive drab and neutral grey. For the Night Fighter variants, we have this rather plain Jane example. Well, neither of them are really startlingly attractive ones, these. One in the standard greens and browns, both with that very large gun pod. Turning it over, another green and brown example. And a Soul Bomber version, so if you do buy the Night Fighter kit and decide to produce a bomber, you can do. One thing to note is, though a couple of these boxings describe the reconnaissance function, none of them actually include the reconnaissance windows or the reconnaissance cameras. I'm hoping that might come in a third, as yet unannounced boxing. The instructions are clear and informative. They show you where everything goes and how everything fits. Looks quite nicely detailed, as you can see. Really not expecting any problems with the assembly of this model from what I've done so far. Really, the big teller is going to be the geometry of the clear plastic and tan plastic parts, but as I say, I'm not expecting any problems. Everything else looks like it fits so beautifully that I have test fitted. So inside that cockpit clear parts, you do get a lot of components to put, so you'll need to use some very clever skills to avoid marking the interior, but everything is there, so it's very nice to see such a nicely detailed kit. This is the bomber instructions, so we have the details for the bomber section on the last page. Also a quick plug for future kits. This will be out in 2015, a 1/48 scale Westland Wessex HU5, and on the back an HC2. Fly's first 1/32 scale are very nice. They look like they might be the ideal first multimedia project. I'm very impressed with the fit. I have test fitted a few parts now and have really not seen anything untoward. A full build will feature in an issue of Scale Aircraft Modeller International in 2015, so keep your eyes open for that. And I think Fly are to be congratulated for this, their first 1/32 scale kit, especially as it comes in at a very reasonable £69 in the UK for the basic version and £75 for the fighter version. As I say, I do hope they consider producing a dedicated reconnaissance package in due course, and I'm sure the aftermarket will be flocking over this kit with add-on parts. Especially MDC, who have already looked at my example to see what they can use from their superb multimedia Arado AR234 as updates for this kit.